RICO'S garage on this cold Indiana morning, in the middle of tearing down our 12-valve Cummins. If none of that sounds familiar to you, I encourage you to check out the other videos down below. Start at the beginning where we drug the $1,000 Ram 3500 in here, and then jump onto engine removal, and then our last video was a teardown video, where it kind of stopped short because honestly that stuff's just not that exciting to watch. I'll kind of catch you up where we're at. This is going to be a short video, but let me walk you around the shop, let you know where we're at, let you know where we're going. For those of you that actually sat through and watched this, I'm going to show you what a 350,000 mile Cummins looks like when it's apart. But there's the block right there behind me, so here we go. We'll just start right here front and center. We've got our 6BT tore down completely to the bare block. You'll notice it's on a different engine stand. I'll get into that here in a minute. Over here in the parts washer we have our oil pan and our front timing cover. Going to be a lot of hours spent right on here. This diesel is a scourgy, nasty mess, and nobody wants to watch me wash parts for a couple hours, so that's all I'm going to show you right now. Here we have pistons and rods, all our main caps laid out in order. Injectors, got them bagged. There's the injector puller we made. Watch that video if you haven't already. That's a pretty genius way, I thought, to pull your injectors out, low buck method. Here's our cylinder head. When the time comes for that, we're going to replace the valve springs with the 60-pound heavier valve springs. Put new valve stem seals in it and lap the valves. Check, make sure the deck's square or flat, and then we'll, that's going to be about it for the head. Over here on the pallet rack, focus, there you go. Whole plethora of parts. Old oil pump. There's the Bosch P-pump injection pump. We're going to go through that. Not really go through it. I'm going to do a few little tweaks on that. Put the 4,000 RPM governor springs in it. I've got a, I believe, number 6 fuel plate that I'll show you. We're going to go through, put that in there. And that's probably going to be about it for that pump. More dirty, nasty parts that need gone through. The turbo itself is worn out. I've got a new replacement cartridge. I'm going to show you a video on that. The valve covers, those are aluminum. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to polish those or paint them yet, but whatever I do, I'll show you that. Here is my cardboard box organization system. You can see I marked front. It's in front of the engine. Got all our tappets here, push tubes, rocker stands, all laid out in order. I'll clean those up, and then we'll reassemble them when the time comes. 6 brand new Cummins rings. Actually didn't cheap out this time. I went ahead and got the actual genuine Cummins parts. I'll show you what we got here in our new parts. Freeze plug set. New Cummins oil pump. This is our rod bearings. I think this is our, that's our new lift pump. Main bearing set. Water pump. Right there. There is, man, this is hard to do with one hand. I can't see it and I don't want to take it out of the packaging. That is our new turbo cartridge. I'll show you a video on how to put that in. Time comes. Back over here in the pallet racking. That is everything inside that box to convert our GM NV4500 into a Dodge NV4500. The Dodge NV4500 bell housing, I got that from a salvage yard. In there's our governor springs, valve springs, fuel plate pin, or fuel plate rather, rotary pumps take a pin, this one takes a plate. And then in here is our Cummins gasket set. And I don't remember what all's in there. Cummins flywheel, bought used off a guy on Craigslist, because ours came with an automatic. Let's show you some of the high points of what 350,000 on a Cummins looks like, and then we'll get into how we mount that stand. Probably going to call it good from there. Our main bearings, focus in on that best you can, really didn't look that bad. I mean, they're worn. I mean, they've got 300,000 miles on, for crying out loud. But really not as bad as I expected. These are all the uppers. The thrust bearing is not bad. They got some, I don't know how well you can see that on camera, they've got some obvious signs of dirt contamination in them. This is the lowers where all the force is. You can see we're down to metal. They needed change, but they, you know, they got 350,000 on them, for crying out loud, like I said. Rod bearings, again, not objectional. Probably the worst part. You can see right down here, we're down some pretty significant wear right there, but that's where all the force is, the piston. When the piston goes to top dead center, the fuel sprays in, it ignites and pushes down. All that force is right here. The block, you can see, still has some crosshatch. This ring ridge right here, you can just barely feel it. So, again, not bad at all for the mileage on this engine. Now, like I've told you in other videos, there's guys out there that will argue to the nth degree that this B-Series Cummins is the best engine out there. I'm not going to jump on that bandwagon, but I am going to say they've got a pretty definitive argument. When you look at this engine right here and what it's been through, and you know by watching the $1,000 Cummins video, if you haven't watched that, please do so, that this truck was not loved at all. And you can see the engine was still running and would have ran for probably a while longer with that lazy ass automatic behind it, cruising down the road at a max of 2,000 RPM all its life. But for what we're going to ask out of it, and the way I'm going to drive it, it wouldn't have helped. But they got a pretty good argument. This is a pretty damn good engine. I think we're going to be happy with it. One other thing we noticed on teardown, our head gasket was starting to leak right here. This oil passage was actually, the head gasket was leaking oil outside, and back here on the back, this water galley was actually starting to leak a little bit. So if we're going to turn that pump up, which is obviously going to make this engine do a little more boost than it's used to seeing, we would have blown this head gasket. We'd have finished it off for sure and been upset, and then we'd have the truck sitting again like it is now with the engine out of it. So we're going to try to be a little smarter with this one and be a little more proactive. Now, before I let you go, I want to point out, you'll notice in the first teardown video, the engine was on this stand here. I bought this stand from Harbor Freight. It's their 2,000 pound engine stand. I bought it with the coupon for $100. It seemed very sketchy at first, but it done the job. Sort of. Until we went to flip it over. And when you put that much weight all the way out here, One guy could not turn this engine over without feeling like he was going to spend some time in the ER. I didn't want to do that, so we had to go to another plan. The solution I came up with was mounting our Cummins engine sideways on a regular engine stand. Putting a 6-cylinder engine on a stand like this is not exactly a new idea. People have been doing it for years, but let me show you. If you watch some other YouTube videos, they'll lead you to believe that all you have to do is pull these pieces off, and then the engine will bolt on to the engine stand right here in the factory holes without any modifications. It didn't work with this stand. I've got, I believe it's a 1,000-pound Harbor Freight stand over there that has the oblong holes. It didn't work that way either. I still have the factory Dodge mounts that I pulled off this engine because we might be using them in the Chevy truck. Simply laid it on there, transfer punched the 4 holes onto the plate, drilled them, and now it's mounted on there perfectly. The engine has a little bit of a tilt to it, mostly because the panholes wore out. I had this stand for I don't know how many years. It's had I don't know how many small blocks and big blocks on it over the years. So the pin doesn't hold it straight, but it's held. And it'll let me get the crank out of it, the pistons, the rear main seal housing, and I'm going to go ahead, hone the cylinders, clean all the gasket surfaces. I'm going to do this stage of the rebuild on this stand, and then once I get the crank in it, pistons, rods, rear main housing, all that stuff, then I'll transfer it over to our other engine stand to dress it up the rest of the way, because I don't trust this stand with that much weight hanging off the side like this. Plus this stand's, I think this is like a 750-pound stand at best. So yeah, it was a pain in the ass switching between the two stands, but I'm only at $100 for that Harbor Freight 2,000-pounder. I already own this one. You make do with what you got. There's the Campbell Soup condensed version of where we're at right now. That pretty much brings you up to date. Like I said, from here on out, it's going to be a lot of boring stuff, cleaning, scraping, washing, stuff you really don't want to see. I might throw in a little bit of a time lapse just to break it up, but I'm not sure yet. Honestly, nobody wants to sit down in their living room and watch that stuff. I'll probably just skip right through it, and once we get to where we're putting this thing together, then I'll video it again. But hope you're enjoying the videos so far. Show that like button some love. Show the dislike if you're a hater, you know. Just remember that haters are my biggest motivator. Subscribe if you want to see more of this build. Like I said, hopefully got some more stuff coming down the pipe. I need to get away from this Cummins stuff and show you some other material, because we've got some out there between what me and my buddies got going on. And once we get warm weather, hopefully I can put some more money into the channel. We've already talked about maybe possibly getting a drone, some GoPros, but we'll just have to see how the overtime holds out, because right now this is totally 100% funded out of our paycheck and customer work out of this garage. So I'm going to get back to work. You get out there, work on your project, and I'll catch y'all next week. Later.